The 2024 NRL season may have just ended, but it's never too early to look forward to some of the exciting changes we have coming our way in 2025. And this offseason in particular features a heap of player transfers that genuinely have the potential to shake up the way this competition looks. There's way too many high profile transfers to cover in one video, so I've split this into two parts, with the potential for a third part as more signings get confirmed across the offseason. So without further ado, let's get into it. I'm going to start with two of the highest profile signings of the entire year. Two homesick international front rowers crossing the Tasman in opposite directions. It all started with Adam Blake wanting to move back to Sydney, which is where he was born and grew up. The Sharks saw the potential he had to bring their forward pack to the next level, and so the deal got done. And having put in a number of stellar seasons for the Warriors, and the 2024 season that saw him win Dally M Front Rower of the Year, Sharks fans have the right to be absolutely buzzing about what he's going to bring to the Shire next season. I've said for some time that I think Cronulla are one high quality front row away from really contending for a premiership, and here we are. And as a consequence of that move, a spot opened up at the Warriors for a high salary front rower. And the Wars were able to secure one of, I think, only two front rowers who really could replace AFB. Fresh off of 4 consecutive premierships, James Fisher-Harris, captain of the New Zealand national team, will land in Auckland next season, and is going to be looking to bring as much of the Penrith professionalism as he can with him. His reunion with former Panthers assistant Andrew Webster has me thinking that the Warriors will at least be able to claw back some of the consistency that we saw from them in 2023. And with guys like Tohu Harris and Roger Tuivasa-Sheck nearing the end of their careers, I can see Fisher-Harris being a leader of this side for years to come. Speaking of those Panthers, they've been able to pick up 26-year-old Isaiah Papali'i to help fill the gap left by Fisher-Harris. Papali'i is best known for his outstanding 2021 and 2022 seasons with the Parramatta Eels, but struggled to get anywhere near that potential in his time with the West Tigers. That said though, he is far from the first player to go to the Tigers and play below his best. The ability and potential is there, we've seen it, and the fact that he's landing at a club like Penrith is a ominous prospect for the rest of the competition. I am very confident that we'll see his best again as part of the Penrith system for 2025. And the man who's expected to play on Papali'i's inside is young Eels rookie Blaise Talangi. Talangi will turn 20 just before the start of next season and faces the task of filling the boots of 4-time premiership winning 5'8" Jerome Luai. Luai is an absolute cult hero out there in Penrith, so Talangi's got his work cut out for him. We saw glimpses this year of Blaise at 5'8", but he was never really given a proper go there. But he is one of the most highly rated young halves in the game, and I would expect him to do very well next season. He's not going to be Jerome Luai straight off the bat, but give him a year playing alongside Nathan Cleary, and I think a lot of people are going to be very surprised by what he produces in 2025. Next up, we've got the Tigers, and although I know we kind of do say this every year, I do genuinely think the Tigers have made a number of high quality signings this offseason that will change the trajectory of that club. None more so than that 5'8" who's won the last 4 premierships, Jerome Luai. I've said it before and I'll say it again, you will not find Luai slander on this channel because I rate him as an absolute premier half. And given that he'll be 28 coming into next season, this is the point in a half's career where we expect them to be hitting their peak. If other halves are anything to go by, we haven't seen the best of Luai yet. If he has the same impact on the Tigers as Stephen Crichton had on the Bulldogs, it would not surprise me in the slightest. I know Crichton's leadership qualities are next level, but Luai's got that same infectious personality, and the same proven track record in terms of commitment to himself and his teammates. I'm not saying that Luai is going to be a magical fix who guides them to the finals in his first season, but he is absolutely part of the solution, and I'm confident that he will get them there in 2 or 3 years' time. Joining him from Penrith is 2023 Rookie of the Year Sunia Turuva. It's a big task to come into the best team in the modern era and slot straight in, but that's exactly what Turuva managed to do in his 52 appearances for the Panthers. At only 22 years of age, he's going to fit right into this young Tigers squad. But with all the experience that he's had in the NRL's premier system, he's also going to be able to positively influence the other young outside backs around him. I really think he'll be a guy who sets the standard for a lot of these younger Tigers outside backs. Another player with premiership winning experience is Jack Bird. The versatile veteran played just about every position there is to play at the Dragons, but has struggled for game time a bit recently, having played only 14 games in each of the last 2 seasons. I do expect that he'll be in the Tigers 17, either as a link man through the middle where he said he wants to play, or potentially just as versatile cover coming off the bench. But for the NRL's youngest squad, his biggest impact is going to be his influence on a lot of these less experienced guys. And one of those guys is going to be Gerald Skelton, a player who, I'm going to be honest, thought was like 20 or 21 years old. Turns out he's actually 25. But in an era where outside backs can play well into their 30s, he's a guy who still has a heap of footy ahead of him. With only 8 NRL appearances to his name, he is still very much a raw talent. But standing 191 centimeters tall and weighing 104 kilos, the upside is there for everyone to see. I know a lot of Tigers fans who expect him to displace Charlie Staines immediately, so the expectations are definitely there from the Tigers faithful. And last but not least for those Tigers, we've got front rower Royce Hunt. At 29 years of age, Royce hasn't had the most conventional path to first grade. He didn't really get a crack at the top level until his mid-20s. But the Samoa International has been a pretty big part of the success that we've seen the Sharks have over recent seasons. He's a player who knows what it takes to make finals consistently, and will be a really solid addition to the Tigers if he can continue to produce a level of form that he did at the Sharks. So yeah, I really rate the Royce Hunt signing. Next up, we've got a couple of Roosters signings, and we've got a man who has 17 times as many subscribers as me. I know he's won a premiership and all that, but I made a grand final vlog. Listen, Chadwick, bro, if you want to collab, let's give the people what they want. But no, in all seriousness, what was originally a depth signing to replace some of the experience that the Roosters are losing has become so much more than that. Sam Walker obviously did his ACL in round 26 this season, which means Chad is going to be the Roosters halfback for the first half of next year. He did have a rough end to 2024, dropped after round 23 in favour of Jake Clifford, but he is a premiership winning halfback, and his only job next season is going to be to hold down the fort and leave the Roosters in a decent position for when Sam Walker does come back.
But seriously, Chad, like, if you want to collab.
Another man who's heading to the Roosters next season is Mark, wait for it, Nawaqanitawase. That's right, I know how to pronounce it. Get on my level. The 24-year-old former Wallabies and Rugby Sevens star makes the shift over to the NRL, and is a player we actually have already seen. He played in the round 27 match between the Rabbitohs and the Roosters and scored this very impressive aerial try. He's a guy normally accustomed to playing on the wing, but he'll line up at centre next season to cover for the departures of Joseph Manu and Joseph Swali'i. There's still a number of question marks over how he's going to adjust to the NRL, but at his best, he's a guy whose ceiling is super high. And a guy who will see depart the Roosters after 7 seasons at the club, Sitili Tupouniua is heading out to Belmore to sign with the Canterbury Bankstown Bulldogs. There was a time where I really felt Tupouniua was going to become one of the most damaging back rowers in the comp. Injuries have unfortunately really hampered his development, but he's going to a club next season where he's going to be in a back row rotation with Viliami Kikau and Jacob Preston. I see him doing really well in that system. The Bulldogs well and truly have their defence sorted, and they've now signed a forward who regularly finds his way to the try line. Definitely one to watch in 2025. And lastly, for this video, thrown onto the end here is a signing that I think has gone a little bit under the radar, to be honest. Carter Gordon to the Titans. He's another ex-Wallaby and aged only 23, his best is well and truly ahead of him. Gordon got 4 Queensland Cup games under his belt last season after making the switch, 2 at centre and 2 at 5'8". The Titans obviously do have a heap of depth in those positions with the likes of AJ Brimson and Jaden Campbell. But Gordon is a guy who's capable of producing the kind of form that just makes him too hard to ignore for Des Hasler. So there we have it, the first batch of signings for 2025. If I didn't get to your club, that's because I'm going to be covering them in part 2, so stay tuned for that. Because there's some clubs, in particular the likes of the Eels, Rabbitohs and Dragons, who I think have made signings that are really going to push their clubs back up the ladder moving forward. And of course, let me know in the comments which signing you're most excited to see play for their new club in 2025. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you later.